Have you ever found yourself in that situation? You really need a quick answer, maybe just a little help,
Hmm.
but everyone around you just seems impossibly busy. Head down, focused.
Yeah, totally slammed.
Exactly. And you hesitate, you feel awkward, or maybe you just, power through and maybe come off as a bit rude.
Oh, definitely been there. We all have.
We really have. So today, we're doing a deep dive into the art of asking for a favor. And maybe even more importantly, how to politely interrupt someone who's clearly, in the zone.
Right.
And this deep dive, it's built from some really interesting material. We've got excerpts from an English learning podcast, actually, that breaks down the subtle social cues.
And the specific phrases you need for these kinds of everyday moments.
Exactly.
So our mission for you today is, well, it's not just about what to say. We want to unpack why these particular phrases work so well, from a social, maybe even a psychological angle.
Yeah.
You'll basically get a toolkit for navigating these slightly tricky social spots, making sure your request gets heard, but without causing friction.
And maybe even building stronger connections along the way.
Yeah, potentially. It's really a shortcut to mastering a communication skill that honestly pays dividends everywhere.
Okay, so let's ground this. Let's use a real-world scenario from the source material. Imagine you're Rachel. You're the new person in the office.
Right, classic situation.
And you're just trying to find the bathroom. Simple request, right? But everyone you approach is just completely slammed.
Mm-hmm. Been there too.
So the scenario kicks off with Rachel approaching someone. She says, sorry to bother you. My name is Rachel. I'm new here. Can I ask you for a favor?
Okay, seems polite enough on the surface.
And the reply she gets is, hi, Rachel. Welcome on board. I'm afraid I can't help you right now. I'm getting ready for a very important meeting.
The welcome on board, followed by the polite shutdown. Very common.
So she tries again. Different colleague. Excuse me, but can I bother you for a second?
Slightly different approach.
And this colleague says, you know what, I'd love to help you, but I'm about to meet an important client. Do you want to ask Sean instead? He sits right over there.
Okay, a deflection, but with a suggestion. That's something.
So finally, she tries Sean. Sorry to interrupt you, Sean. Could you do me a quick favor?
Using the interrupt language directly.
And Sean's reply, pretty terse. Actually, I'm working on a document that's due in a couple of minutes. I really can't talk right now.
Ouch. Another dead end.
Yeah, poor Rachel. And her frustrated outburst at the end just sums it all up. Geez, I just want to know where the bathroom is. What's wrong with you people?
It's funny, but it really highlights the challenge, doesn't it? Seeking help when everyone's busy.
Totally.
And while, okay, maybe the colleagues could have taken 10 seconds, Rachel's experience really underscores why having the right language, the right approach, matters so much.
Right.
It makes you wonder, how could she have been maybe a bit more successful? What's the key here?
So to avoid, ending up like Rachel, the material we looked at gives us some essential tools, some building blocks for polite interaction.
Exactly.
And I'm guessing these aren't just like random vocabulary words. They seem to do more work than that.
Oh, absolutely. Think of them less as just words and more as social signals. You take some of those terms Rachel ran into,
Okay.
like on board. When she heard welcome on board, it's more than just welcome to the company.
Right.
It signals inclusion, team belonging. It's often used to build that initial bit of rapport.
Yeah.
Now, her colleague was busy, sure, but in another situation, that phrase could lay some groundwork, make future requests feel less like you're imposing. It kind of softens things socially.
Okay, that makes sense. What about about to?
About to.
Yeah.
She heard, I'm about to go into a meeting. I'm about to meet a client.
Yeah.
It's not just saying what you'll do next. It's a very common, very polite way to signal, I'm unavailable right now. It gives a reason, even a brief one, without completely shutting the door forever. Understanding that helps you, interpret those kinds of replies. And maybe even use them yourself sometimes.
Okay. And the last one she heard was instead.
Right, instead. When she was told, do you want to ask Sean instead, that's actually a really useful tool for redirection.
How so?
Well, it lets someone politely say no to the direct request, but still offer some help, an alternative path. It shifts the task, you could say, without just leaving the person hanging.
Gotcha. So these words, they're not just definitions in a dictionary. They're part of this whole, social dance signaling thing.
Exactly. It's all about managing the interaction.
So let's move from these sort of background elements to the main event, actually asking for the favor. What did the sources say about the best ways to phrase that request?
Okay, so when you need that small, helpful thing, the phrasing really is key. Rachel used, can I ask you a favor? And could you do me a quick favor? Those are definitely good, solid options. Some others mentioned were, may I get you to do me a favor? Or maybe, will you do me a favor?
Right.
The important thing seems to be the directness,
Yeah.
but also framing it explicitly as a favor. That word itself sets the stage.
Yeah.
It implies it's a request for kindness, not, a demand.
It manages expectations.
Precisely. And the examples in the material really show this. Can you carry this package? Can you just finish this report? Will you do me a favor and pass me that file?
They're clear, concise.
Yeah, they make the ask very explicit, but still polite.
Okay, so you've picked your favor phrase. But what about the timing? What if the person you need is clearly deep in work? Head down, on a call, whatever. That's where the interruption phrases come in, right?
Yes, and these are crucial.
They feel like more than just politeness, almost like a necessary first step.
You're spot on. Think of it as needing a soft landing. The core idea behind these interruption phrases is that you acknowledge the other person's current state before you even make your request. You're basically signaling, look, I see you're busy, I get it, and I'm taking responsibility for pulling you away for just a second.
So you're validating their busyness first.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the material gave us a great set of these opening lines. I hate to bother you, but... Oh, I'm sorry to bother you, but... I don't mean to bother you, but...
Mm-hmm.
And the ones Rachel used, too. Excuse me, but can I bother you for a second? And sorry to interrupt you, but...
Right.
These phrases, they act like a kind of verbal knock on the door. It makes people more receptive because you've immediately shown respect for their time, their focus.
I see how that totally shifts the feel of it. It's like you're showing you understand it's an imposition before they even feel imposed upon. That's smart.
It is. It preempts potential annoyance.
So the real goal then is to combine these two things, the interruption phrase and the favor request.
That's where the magic really happens, yes. You integrate them, use an interruption phrase, then follow it with your favor request. Like, I hate to bother you, but can you do me a favor? Or, sorry to interrupt, but would you do me a quick favor?
Okay.
That combination, it does a few things at once. It deals with the potential awkwardness of interrupting, it shows you're considerate, and then it clearly states what you need. So it's the perfect tone, really.
And the sources actually had a follow-up dialogue showing this in action, right, where it worked much better than Rachel's attempts.
Yes, exactly. It showed how these phrases can work really smoothly in a normal, collaborative setting.
Right.
You heard things like, welcome on board, and then about to reach out, about to suggest, would 11 a.m. work instead, and, sorry to interrupt, all being used successfully, just to navigate scheduling a meeting and setting up a project.
So it proves they're not just like filler words. They're actually vital for things to run smoothly, for harmonious communication.
Totally. They help move people from maybe feeling bothered to feeling respected and therefore more willing to actually help you out.
It's about changing the frame.
Precisely. Pre-phrasing your request in a way that reduces that feeling of being imposed upon and instead increases their willingness to listen and help. It changes the whole tone from an intrusion to a respectful ask.
Okay, so we've kind of navigated these tricky waters, haven't we? Asking for favors, interrupting politely, we've got specific phrases, but more than that, maybe a better understanding of the social psychology behind them. You now have a better handle on how acknowledging someone's context, offering alternatives like instead, and creating that soft landing with interruption phrases can really improve things.
Definitely. And remember, these aren't just, phrases to memorize. They're tools. Tools for building better working relationships, stronger connections generally, making sure your needs get communicated effectively.
Whether you're the new person in the office or just trying to catch up with a busy friend.
Exactly. Understanding the why behind the why these phrases work, that's the real key.
So maybe the next time you find yourself needing that small, helpful thing, or you need to get someone's attention when they're clearly swamped.
Just consider this. How might using one of these well-placed, polite phrases, knowing why it works, how might that shift the whole dynamic of that moment?
And what new possibilities might that open up? Not just for getting the favor done, but for the relationship going forward.
Something to think about.